If you want your textures to be used outside of Blender, we need to bake them first. We switch to the Shading tab. Blender will use the active texture selected here in the material as bake target. But we do not want Blender to bake the information to our feeding textures here. So now let's create a bake target. Just press Shift A, search for a image texture, create a new image, give it a name. To indicate it's baked, I usually type in baked and then what property it contains, in this case color. And I also choose a 4K resolution here and create a new image. And in order to have a clear color information and nothing else computed into the result, you can connect your color information from any node and put it directly onto the surface output of the shader. Now we see here in the preview, it's basically just a flat color. That's what we want. So now switch over to the Render Properties tab, then select Cycles, then ensure we use the GPU. And in this case, this simple material does not need any sampling. Therefore, we can use a max sample settings of 1. And here in the Bake tab, we can select the bake type to emit, and it will take the raw information that is shown here and bake it. Then we want the image texture as our target. It's the default. And if you want to use this in a game engine, best would be here as the margin, select extend. Be sure the object is selected in the viewport, then be sure the correct texture target is selected and hit bake. Now our image is baked, we can see here. Now if we also want to bake the normal map, we create a second bake target. We call this baked normal. And important for normal map, which is not a color, the color space setting should be set to non-color. And also important, to get the normal information from Blender, we need to connect the principal BDSF back to the surface output, basically just the normal setting, and switch the bake type from emit to normal. Then select the normal bake target and click on bake. Leave everything else to the default settings and click bake. Now we see here a preview image. If you don't see it, you maybe have to click back and forth here. And Blender will then show you your image here. This looks okay. If you want to save the image, click on the hamburger menu, image, and select Save a Copy. If you also want the baked images to be also saved within the blend file, click on the hamburger menu here again, and in the image drop-down, select Save All Images. This will pack all the images inside the current blend file. And don't forget to save the blend file as well by press Control S or choose File and Save. Now that we have the color information and the normal information, We can also bake the other two informations here, like the specular and roughness, in the same way as we bake the color information. For this, I create bake targets by creating an image texture node and naming the new image baked roughness. If you want to create your bake targets a little bit faster, you can just select one bake target, press Shift D and duplicate the node. Make the selected texture inside here a single user. It's basically now its own texture and does not reference to the same. And rename the texture to, in this case, to specular. And also a roughness and a specular is also not a color. Therefore, the color space setting should be set to non-color. And to bake these, just switch the bake target back to emit. And for the roughness, in this case, connect the roughness directly to the surface output. And then bake the image as well. Be sure the object is selected and the correct bake target and click bake. Now the roughness is baked. It's just a black and white image. And the same process for the specular image. Connect the specular to the surface output and be sure the specular node is selected and click on bake. You see it's now the specular information and the roughness information. Connect the principal BSDF back to the surface output. Be sure to save all images. And now to control our baked result, I copy the principal BSDF and the material output with Shift and D. Bring it over here. Now we have two material outputs. I select the second one. Blender automatically switches over. And now I connect the baked results into their inputs. Color to color, roughness to roughness, specular to IOR level. And the normal map, just drag out the node here and search for normal map, color. And be sure that the color output of the normal texture is connected to the input color of the normal map node. And then just connect the normal output to the normal input of the shader. It looks almost the same. If we switch back and forth, you can see only a minor difference because now the material is not longer calculated at runtime, it's actually baked.